Hello. Well, last week, of course, was Palm Sunday. This week, it's an incredible week filled, in Holy Week, the Triduum filled with so very much. What I'd like to plan is, as briefly as possible, like a rocket, in other words, to go through some ideas from the Mass of the Easter Vigil, the Liturgy of the Word, and then to sort of abstract from that. First of all, the Genesis 1. Oh, wow, what a reading. Look how Israel came. Oops, I'm sorry. I'm jumping ahead. He says there often, then 6 times, then God said, let there be, or be, in other words, he makes his command, and it happens. And so it happened. There's that pattern of God's power being manifest, creative power being manifest, and its effectiveness. And then often there'll be the expression, God saw how good it was. At the very end, almost to the end, God looked at everything he had made and found it very good. God's power and the goodness of its expression. Then in the second reading in Genesis, again, chapter 22, the faith of Abraham in God. And because Abraham was so faithful to the Lord, willing to give up his son, his only son, and that meant his own posterity, God rewards him. God makes a covenant with Abraham and his descendants forever. And then on to Exodus chapter 14. God destroys the Israelite enemies, Pharaoh, as Pharaoh attempts to destroy the Israelites. God stands up for his people. And then in the fourth reading, Isaiah, God takes sinful Israel back and makes something of them. His love reaches out once again to them. In the fifth reading, Isaiah, again, my ways are above your ways. My word shall do my will. God's ways, we cannot fathom them. All we can do is ask the dear Lord to help us to join with him, to join with his will. And then in the sixth reading, Baruch, the magnificence of God. Blessed is Israel. Blessed is Israel to have this God, the only God, as their God. And then in the seventh reading, Ezekiel. Israel rejected God, but God, among the nations, says, I will prove my holiness through you, despite the fact that you have not been loyal to me. Still I will use you, and I will do that by giving you a new heart and a new spirit, and working through you. Overall, what the church is expressing here in these readings is the experience of God that the people of God had of him. And I think what the church is saying is, in your own life, come to experience the presence of God. Come to know him. Come to see how wonderful he is with you. Do it as a church community. Do it as a family. experience the dear Lord, come to know the dear Lord in your own daily life. As Israel came to know the Lord over the millennia, in our own short lives, let us do the same. The second idea that I'd like to bring out is experiencing in our own lives the pattern of this season. It's actually the pattern of all Christianity. The suffering, the death, and the resurrection as a daily experience. Suffering and death. The suffering and death, not necessarily a physical thing, but meaning that giving up our own will, our own way, giving up doing things with us as the center of life, and daily finding that the Lord gives us new life, that we can resurrect to new life, that He empowers us, and that He will become the center of our lives if we call upon Him to be life for us each and every day. May this Holy Week experience be one in which what the Lord offers us now is what we will live each and every day throughout the year. His suffering, His death, and every day, greater and increased life in Him, a resurrection. God bless you all.